the Israelites thought that once they left Egypt their troubles would be over, but instead they must have felt like they were only just beginning. No sooner had they left Egypt than the Egyptians gave chase in an effort to bring them back to slavery once again. To make matters worse, the Israelites found themselves with their backs to the Red Sea. There was nowhere to go as the Egyptians closed in on them. Let's read Exodus chapter 14, verses 15 to 31.
Yahweh said to Moses, "Why do you cry to me? Speak to the children of Israel, that they go forward. Lift up your rod and stretch out your hand over the sea, and divide it, and the children of Israel shall go into the midst of the sea on dry ground. Behold, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall go in after them. And I will get myself honor over Pharaoh, and over all his armies, over his chariots, and over his horsemen. The Egyptians shall know that I am Yahweh, when I have gotten myself honor over Pharaoh, over his chariots, and over his horsemen." The angel of God, who went before the camp of Israel, moved and went behind them, and the pillar of cloud moved from before them and stood behind them. It came between the camp of Egypt and the camp of Israel, and there was a cloud and the darkness, yet it gave it light by night, and the one didn't come near the other all that night. Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and Yahweh caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all the night, and made the sea a dry land, and the waters were divided. The children of Israel went into the midst of the sea on the dry ground, and the waters were a wall to them on their right hand and on their left. The Egyptians pursued, and went in after them into the midst of the sea, all of Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. It happened in the morning watch that Yahweh looked out on the Egyptian army through the pillar of fire and of cloud, and confused the Egyptian army. He took off their chariot wheels, and they drove them heavily, so that the Egyptians said, "Let's flee from the face of Israel, for Yahweh fights for them against the Egyptians." Yahweh said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand over the sea, that the waters may come again on the Egyptians, on their chariots, and on their horsemen." Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to its strength when the morning appeared, and the Egyptians fled against it. Yahweh overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. The waters returned, and covered the chariots and the horsemen, even all Pharaoh's army that went in after them into the sea. There remained not so much as one of them. But the children of Israel walked on dry land in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall to them on their right hand and on their left. Thus Yahweh saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians. And Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore. Israel saw the great work which Yahweh did to the Egyptians, and the people feared Yahweh, and they believed in Yahweh and in his servant Moses.
When it looked most hopeless for Israel, God worked a miracle to preserve them once again. He split the sea, and Israel walked through the middle of the sea on dry ground. To make the miracle even greater, when those who were chasing the Israelites tried to do the same, the waters returned to their rightful place and they were all drowned. In many ways we are just the same as the Israelites. God comes to us when we are dead in sin. He does what we cannot do for ourselves. He raises us to life through his grace. Like the Israelites, we are called to step forward in obedience and see God work as we obey him. As they passed through the sea, the Israelites were marking a break with their old life of slavery. The Egyptians were now gone. The Israelites were symbolically leaving behind their old master and going forward to serve God. As Christians, we too must leave behind our old lives with their sinful desires and seek to glorify God in all that we do as we obey him. We are not to trust in outward signs or our own feeble efforts, but to trust solely in what Christ has done on our behalf.